All right, today we are diving into a book from the ancient world that is just wild. It's got everything. It's like a political thriller, a sci-fi epic, and a story of just incredible conviction, all rolled into one. We're talking about the Book of Daniel. Let's get right into it. So, what is this book really about? I mean, you've probably heard the whole Lion's Den story, but it's so much more than that. It's a gripping story about faith surviving under some serious political pressure. It has these mind-bending visions about the future of world empires, and it's about how one person's integrity can actually shape history. Okay, so our story kicks off with a massive reversal of fortune. We meet Daniel, who's a young nobleman from Jerusalem, and his life is about to get turned completely upside down. So his city falls, and Daniel gets taken captive. He's shipped off to Babylon, which is the absolute epicenter of this huge, powerful, and totally foreign empire. I mean, just imagine that for a second. Going from a life of privilege where you know everything and everyone to being a captive in a place with different gods, different rules, a different language. The central question is set right there. Can he hold on to who he is, to his faith, when he's this far from home? But here's the thing. Daniel doesn't just survive in Babylon, he starts to thrive. This next part of the story is all about his totally improbable climb from being a captive to becoming a trusted advisor in the royal court, right in the heart of the empire that crushed his homeland. So how on earth did he pull that off? Well, it was a few things. First, his faith was just unshakable, and that made him stand out. But second, he had this incredible gift for interpreting dreams, which, you have to understand, was basically like having a superpower in the ancient world. That combo of wisdom and conviction is what got him noticed, and eventually he's appointed to the royal court of King Nebuchadnezzar himself, putting him right at the center of all the action. And that right there, that really gets to the core of his character. It wasn't just raw talent that got him ahead. It was this powerful mix of deep-seated faith and real profound wisdom. And believe me, he was going to need every ounce of that foundation for the test that was coming his way. And oh boy, that test is probably the most famous story in the entire book. We're talking about a super high-stakes showdown that pits Daniel's personal beliefs against the law of the land, with his life literally hanging in the balance. Now here's how it all goes down. Daniel's success and his, integrity, it made a lot of other officials in the court super jealous. So, they don't challenge him directly. No way. Instead, they cook up this sneaky plot to use his own faith against him. So here's the trap they set. The officials talk King Darius into making a new law that cannot be broken. For 30 days, nobody is allowed to pray to any god or person except for the king. This puts Daniel in a totally impossible spot, right? Obey the king, or obey his God? Well, for Daniel, it wasn't really a choice. He just keeps on praying like he always does, openly defying this new law. And the consequence for breaking the rule? It was just absolute and terrifying. The punishment was to be thrown into a den of lions. So because of his faithfulness, Daniel is sentenced to this unbelievably brutal end. But the story takes this incredible turn. The next morning, they open up the den. And Daniel is just fine, completely unharmed. It's written as a straight-up miracle, a powerful sign that his unwavering faith was the right call after all. But Daniel's story is so much more than just his personal struggles. It's like his faithfulness in the face of these earthly kings opens up a window into the future of global power itself. He starts receiving these epic, symbolic visions about how empires rise and fall. Okay, so one of his most famous visions, you gotta picture this. 4 giant beasts coming up out of the sea, each one more terrifying than the last. For centuries, people have interpreted these as a sequence of world empires. You've got Babylon as this lion with eagle's wings, then Persia as a devouring bear, Greece as a swift leopard, and finally this terrifying 4th beast, which is seen as Rome. It's this huge, sweeping prophecy of history. So you have all these monstrous, temporary, earthly empires. And then, in stark contrast, a new figure shows up in the vision, the Son of Man. This is a messianic figure who's seen coming to the throne of God and being given all authority, all glory, all power. And his kingdom? It's described as being everlasting, one that will never, ever be destroyed. All right, let's switch gears to another major prophecy. And this one, well, it all comes down to a number, 490 years. What could that possibly mean? This is what's known as the 70 weeks prophecy. It's this really complex timeline of 490 years that's all broken up into different sections. Many have seen it as a kind of prophetic countdown, pointing to major moments in Jewish history and all building up to the arrival of the Messiah. To this day, it's one of the most intensely studied and debated prophecies ever written. So let's pull back for a second. After all the drama, the trials, the lines, the complex visions, what's the lasting legacy here? What are the big ideas we're supposed to take away from the book of Daniel? It really boils down to three powerful messages. First off, it's about the power of personal faithfulness, that you can hold on to your integrity even when you're under pressure from the most powerful people on earth. Second, it offers this huge message of hope, basically saying that even in the worst of times, there's a future restoration coming. And finally, and this is a huge one, it declares that all human empires, no matter how mighty they seem, are temporary. They will all eventually make way for God's everlasting kingdom. And that really brings us to our final thought. The book of Daniel, written thousands of years ago, is asking a question that we are still asking today. When we're facing our own trials, or we're just watching the powers of the world rise and fall, what does it really mean to hold on to hope when the future feels so uncertain? That is a powerful question to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.